Good morning, welcome to our homestead. Have you noticed the increase in prices at the grocery store? Well, I'm here to tell you that that's probably not going to slow down anytime soon. Today we're going to be talking about the two things that we are doing right now to combat those rising prices. Let's go. Well, of course, number one is growing your own food. Now, you can do that no matter where you are at. Yes, if you live in a tiny place in the city still, you're going to have limitations, but just start. Start the learning process, because the learning process to gain the knowledge of how to grow food is somewhat steep sometimes. It's not just about grabbing soil in a bag at Walmart and throwing some seeds in it and watering it regularly. Although that'll work at first, that is the minimal that you need to know to be able to do or to grow your own food. And growing your own food is pretty much the best way to combat rising prices on food, because that's how it's been done for thousands of years. And people have lost that knowledge because it's so easy to go to the grocery store. Friends, going to the grocery store is fine, but any grocery store in any city is only going to have a 3-day supply on hand of food. So if something happens, that actually goes down to about 3 hours, give or take. And if you can't get there, and if you don't have anything at home, then you're in real trouble. I want you to start gardening. I want you to go out in your backyard if you're still in suburbia and get going. Learn how to do it. We've got a lot of great videos that'll help you out and teach you how to do that. But of course, I want all of you to think about very, very intensely leaving the city, leaving the suburbs for a country property where you can do these things on a much larger scale to be able to feed your family. And I want you to focus on growing staples. So over here behind me, we've got sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes grow incredibly easy in the south, in this sandy soil that we have here, and they stay for a very long time. So we haven't purchased any sweet potatoes except for the first year. We've been here for 6 years. They survive to the next season much better than Irish style potatoes or white potatoes, which are a different plant, but the sweet potatoes are much hardier and they actually are more nutritious. So I want you to think about growing sweet potatoes and staples that will really sustain you and your family if times get rough, and I think they're going to. And if you haven't seen it already, we did a video, I'm going to link it up here at the top of the screen, that talked about how big your garden needs to be to feed a family of 4. And a lot of the calculations out there are totally incorrect. I talked about it in that video. There was one site that said, oh yes, grow 400 square feet of food for your family of 4 and you'll be fine. Well, not even close, guys. Try 6 times as much as that. And then on top of that, if you want to have grains in your diet, you're going to need a lot more room for stuff like that. So that's number one. Learning how to grow food for your family, learning how to garden, learning how to take care of fruit trees. Actually, we need to talk about that for a minute because that's a little bit of a different animal. And fruit trees can be a little difficult to take care of with diseases and pests and things like that. So plant more than you actually need. And we've done a lot of videos on fruit trees. Check it out at the top of the screen. So now you're growing your own food, but the learning curve to grow your own food is great. And you know, fruit doesn't pop off the vine the very next day that you put after you put the seed in the ground, right? So if you're just starting out, you need to do this also. And number 2 is to store up some dried staple goods for your family. Now, in addition to that, you should learn how to preserve the food that you get out of your garden. That's kind of a whole separate thing. But right now, what I'm saying is head over to Sam's Club or Costco or even your local grocery store and grab the biggest bag possible of basic staples like beans and rice. And they're not expensive at all. So if you've got a little bit extra in your budget for 1 week of groceries, grab 1 extra bag, grab the biggest bag possible. It's an extra maybe, I don't know, remember how much this was, maybe $20, $25, something like that. At this point, maybe it could be more. But if you don't get it now, it could be double next week. You don't know. So for us, we like to vacuum pack in glass jars our staples. So flour and beans and rice and things like that. We also do occasionally dry can some things like the flour and the rice. Beans don't work very well with the dry canning method. We've got oatmeal, we've got lentils, and that's pretty much it. Everything else we've canned from our garden. We've got peppers from our garden, we've got carrots from our garden, and we've got some muscadine jelly that we made from our grapes. We've got other things like salt and maple syrup and coconut oil, things that will keep for a long period of time. And I think you're gonna have to think ahead and get potentially a year's worth of food. Now friends, why am I saying a year's worth of food? Now, I don't live in fear, but I like to be prudent and plan. So if I see things that are alarming, I will plan out a little bit more, and stock up just in case. So that's why I'm making this video. I really want you to go out and do those two things. Learn how to garden and store up some staples, get that going right now. Now you don't have to run out and buy expensive freeze-dried food. I'm gonna do a video coming up about Homestead diet and why we need to change the way we think about what we're eating. We've been a rich country for so long, we are used to having an incredible variety of foods to eat, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, most countries in the world don't have 100 different types of cereal to choose from when going to the store. We're blessed to have that, but if things change, and I think they will, we might just see two at the store. Now, I'm not being melodramatic, but I want you to prepare your mind for a simpler diet. Being out on a homestead where you're canning and growing foods for yourself, and maybe you have some old stores, some staple stores of food, you're not going to reproduce all of the variety of things that we can get out at a restaurant or the grocery store. So I want you to really mentally prepare yourself for that. And friends, when things get more difficult with the economy, you have to think about food as your number one concern. Because if you have an empty stomach and your kids have an empty stomach, you are much more susceptible to being persuaded into doing things that you never thought you would do or that you didn't want to do. And for my Bible studying friends out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now check out these videos right here, which I think will be very helpful for you. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.